Hi, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great day. I've been instructed to wrap my head, so that's why you see the thing on. I have to wrap my head. You know, in spiritual warfare, when we're being spiritually attacked, one of the things that they attack the most is our crown, which is our brain, our head. And so my spirit team has instructed me to cover my head. So I'm very obedient when it comes to my spirit team. And I'm learning how to do the head wrap thing because it wasn't a thing that I usually did. So here we are. But I still have to get these messages out. So here we are. Last night I was talking about vessels being hijacked, right? Like human vessels being hijacked, and how it all starts with our wounds, and that's how they gain access to us, through our wounds, through our pain, through our hurt, through our guilt, through our shame, through all those negative emotions that we feel and choose not to deal with, right? Because we have free will. So we could either choose to indulge in those negative emotions and create more havoc for ourselves, or we can choose to heal, right? Although everyone's journey is different, and everyone has to go through different things to be able to get to that point of healing. It is a journey. But for those of us who are the brink of making a choice, right? Or even this could even be preventive measures. We don't have to go through all the chaos and all the hurt. We can choose to heal, right? So everybody's journey is different, but my role here is to plant seeds and to speak from my experience, from the things that I have gone through. And so I wanted to touch base regarding how to identify when a vessel is hijacked and how to know that it's real. And I'm going to give you an example because I was thinking about it overnight, and I remember when I was in active addiction, or when I would relapse. And I think I mentioned that last night at one point. When I was in active addiction, and specifically when I would relapse, I could tell that my light was leaving me. You see how I'm shiny now? How I just look so youthful. Right? So when I would be in active addiction, or when I would relapse, you can see that light, that shine going away, diminishing. You could see like the darkness kind of like overtake the vessel, in a sense. For those of us who have gone through active addiction, we can all relate to this, right? We can see how we just become like our light starts to turn off. It starts to turn off. It starts to turn off type of scenario, right? And so for those of us who've been through addiction, we know that, that it's the drugs that we're consuming that are, making us, we call it sick, but it's much deeper than that. So I use that as an example because that's exactly what happens to vessels when they are consumed by other entities, when they're taken over by other entities, right? And so some people are not in active addiction, right? Some people are just evil fucks. They're just diabolical, right? And because there's so much, what is that called, when stigma, yeah, there's like so much stigma in like addictions, right? um or mental health, right? There's like a stigma on it, so like people like just, oh no, you're just an addict, or um there, or like, you just suffer from depression or something like that, right? Now there's people who are diabolical, and nobody's calling them out for being diabolical, right? It's just, oh no, she's just like that. She's always been like that. Like, just deal with it, right? And so they're diabolical. That's the reality. They're diabolical. They've been consumed by evil entities, and what comes out of them, it's diabolical. And so, how do we identify that a vessel has been hijacked, right? So the same way that an addict loses their light and somebody with mental health is suffering, and you could see that they're suffering the same way that somebody that is consumed by evil entities, you can see it in their face. You can see it. You can look, when you look at them, their physical appearance, in their eyes, in their aura, you'll feel that darkness. You can see it, right? Now, the other part that I wanted to get at was, how do we how do they just go back to, having that light again? If they're inside of them, they're diabolical, they're consumed by darkness, right? And this is where, when I was speaking about how people are master illusionists, master manipulators, and how these children are going missing, and women and children are going missing, right? So, and how these secret societies and covens, cults, and all types of diabolicalness that's happening in the world right now, where, we have PDF files just running rampant, right? And children going missing, type of scenario, right? The reason being is that, in order for these people to feed, they need energy, right? And they like it pure. They like pure energy. And so children are innocent, right? So they consume their essence, their vitality, and that's how they rejuvenate themselves, right? So for people who are not hip to this, or are not aware that this is what happens, this sounds like something out of a movie or something, right? But for those of us who've been exposed to this from our youth, like from see, I was that child that was sacrificed, right? I was that child that her energy was being siphoned. I was that child that was under heavy spell work, to be in addictions, to be basically controlled, to get into certain things with the purpose of being a sacrifice, right? And because with the spell work, with the graveyard dirt that was put in my food, it didn't take me out. Then the process was to make myself want to alt delete myself, right? And so, because I do the healing work, I understand like what's happening here. There will be no alt deleting because I chose to live. You understand what I'm saying? But that doesn't stop people from doing these types of evil things. And so I'm like a person that survived this, right? I'm a person that survived it. Hi, my love. I'm doing a video. I'm that person that survived it, and I'm that single mother with the children who was attacked by these people, right? By these cults, covens, secret societies, where they go and target women with gifts, children with gift, people who are innocent, pure in nature. Like, I have a very pure nature, a very innocent energy, a very childlike energy, right? And that gets confused as to being like, stupid, dumb, slow, but in reality, I just choose not to be diabolical. And so people get fooled and think that it's just, oh no, this is an easy target. But here we are, right? And so there's a thing called divine protection, right? And so when we awaken to who we are, we get ancestral protection, and our bloodline wakes up, right? Like our real family from our soul, because usually the family that we have here in this 3D world is karmic. Meaning, like, you know how Joseph in the Bible, their brother sold them to slavery? Yeah, that's usually how it goes with the karmic families here in this 3D world, right? And so, with that being said, my role here is to bring out awareness. into what is happening here in society and humanity, why all these children are going missing, why it's important that we protect ourselves, that we use our discernment and we do our healing work, because more and more children are going missing, more and more women are appearing in ponds and swamps and all types of things, and we're not realizing that this is